Lieutenant Colonel Muller was every bit as awful as Rory had expected. A massive woman in her 50s with an ego to match. She must be coming up for retirement and so didn't give a shit about whom she upset. Her career in the Royal Army Medical Corps was coming to an end whatever happened. She was waiting for him in the freezing cold morgue, ostentatiously tapping her foot and looking at her watch as he walked through the plastic flap doors. She had a green operating gown over her uniform, which gave her the appearance of a Chesterfield in storage. "Captain Sumner, how nice of you to join me," she growled, in an accent that set his teeth on edge. It reeked of pretentiousness and self-sufficiency to his ears. "Lieutenant Colonel, could we proceed, please? I have a great deal to do today." "As do I, Captain, as do I." Rory had the impression that she required thanking for doing her job, although she showed no signs of actually doing her job, standing with a clipboard in her hand and prodding with distaste at the corpse laid out on the examination table in front of her. "It's quite obvious to me, Captain, that this was a queer who got what was coming to him." "Could you repeat that, please, ma'am?" Rory was outraged and discreetly turned away from her to get his cell phone out of his pocket. Could you excuse me 1 minute? I have an urgent text message from my sergeant." He thumbed the record button and replaced the phone. "I said, Captain, that I hardly need to waste any time on a full autopsy. It's clear that this was a shirt lifter who tried it on with someone who took objection, and quite rightly so." "You mean that homosexuals should be sodomized with broom handles to teach them a lesson, ma'am?" Rory's tone was mild. "Added to which he was a bloody raghead, and I don't know why they allow such people in the army." Vanessa Muller was warming to her subject, which made Rory very happy. He would have lots of material to play back to the CO later. "I seem to remember when similar things were said about the role of women in the army, ma'am," he observed. She scowled at Rory and opened her mouth to reply, but he cut her off. "If you'd be so kind, ma'am, I want a full autopsy carried out immediately. You may be convinced that the man was arse-fucked to death, but I'm not." She winced at the deliberately coarse phrase. "Nor am I sure that his sexuality was the reason for his murder. That is, if I may say so, not your province. Now, if you'd just do your job and allow me to do mine, we'll get on a lot faster." "A full autopsy? But the cause of death is obvious. Rupture of a major artery during anal sex, which caused fatal blood loss." "Anal sex with a foreign object. Have you swabbed for semen? Are you sure that all the blood in or on the body is his own? Are there any DNA samples present that don't match his? Was he under the influence of drink or drugs? What about the beating he received before or during the sexual assault?" Rory tapped each item off with his forefinger on the edge of the instrument tray as he enumerated them. "And just what exactly are you hoping to find, Captain Sumner?" "I'm hoping, ma'am, that you will find the actual cause of death rather than the supposed one. With that, I will be able to make a decision on the possible motives rather than jumping to stereotypical and bigoted conclusions, ma'am." Rory stayed to watch as Lieutenant Colonel Muller, grumbling all the time, carried out the most details of autopsies, because he couldn't trust her to not cut corners if he left her alone. He was rewarded when she was removing the brain and gave a squeak of surprise. "Oh, there's a bullet in here." She fiddled with a pair of forceps and held up a 9mm standard NATO round. "Cause of death, ma'am?" Rory inquired politely, and was delighted to see her flush scarlet from her thick neck up to the roots of her hair. Well, I'd say this was the coup de grace, Captain," she replied. At a guess, given the amount of blood loss at the scene, the man was already hemorrhaging badly and then was shot. There's no signs of an entry wound on the body, so I have to conclude." That the broom handle was removed, replaced by an automatic pistol, and the trigger pulled. Rory finished for her. Exactly so. Its location in the brain, ma'am, any ideas on that? Well, the passage through the soft tissues all the way through the body would have slowed the bullet down, and when it finally hit the cranium it didn't have enough force to break through, hence no exit wound either. I think, Captain, that someone knew what they were doing. I'd have to agree with you, ma'am, because it was most